Well, hello and welcome. Oh my gosh, it is Wednesday, one of my favorite days of the week. I am here today, excited to talk to my staffingpreneurs about employee payroll funding for your staffing agency business. I'm going to clap here. I got to get my clap on. What an exciting day today, right? So this is the deal. We have a special guest on the Academy, and no stranger to Staffingpreneurs Academy. And I wanted this company to come online because they are our premier employee payroll funding partner. And I wanted to bring them on to help you guys understand the process of payroll funding for your temp-to-perm, contract to hire employees, why it's great to have this business model in your business as a part of your business, and how having this business model will allow you to grow your business in tenfold and very fast as well, depending on how you manage your niche. So I'm not going to do all the talking today, but I do want to take a moment to introduce Robert Brennan. I said Michael. Robert Brennan of ARG Funding, which is an official Staffingpreneurs Funding partner. Yay! Woo! Robert, how are you today?
Doing fantastic, Dean.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm going to let you take over.
Fantastic. Glad to see so many people attending today.
I can't hear you. We can't hear you. Robert, we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, much better.
Let me check audio controls.
That's perfect.
Okay, can you still hear me okay?
Yes, you sound amazing. Thank you.
All right. This 2ARG is obviously a very important topic. We've been providing back office services for independent recruiters and staffingpreneurs, it's also called solopreneurs, for a long time. And I'm getting a little feedback here.
You sound clear as a summer day on this end.
Yeah, one sec.
Mm-hmm. We're drooling over here, Robert. Super excited.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Just really quickly, if you guys are having issues hearing, please let us know in the Q&A box or on the chat box. If you can hear clearly, then that's great. You can let us know that as well. This is no different than any other webinar that I put on. So interaction is super, appreciated. Let us know what you're experiencing so that we can make it right for you. Sorry about that, Robert. I just wanted to put that out there.
It's okay. You can hear me okay, right?
Yes, hear you great.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys, sorry about that. I was getting a little feedback on the other side of the phone. The topic today, and I've had long discussions with Dee, about, what her clients, the staffingpreneurs, what you're looking for, what you need, what your challenges are. You're starting that business. And why ARG is such a perfect partner for staffingpreneurs is the fact that we've been doing this since 1998. So what's that, 17 years now, we've been working with what we call solopreneurs or independent recruiters. We help them on a lot of different things. It's getting their business started, obviously the funding, ongoing training, getting them great partnership deals with other tools and services. So the understanding that we have for what you all are doing right now, wherever you are in this country, you've got your niche set up, you've got your business plan made, and you want to start executing, working as an independent recruiter, what we call third-party recruiting. There's no better market to be in. The fact that you get to work with people. I mean, your product, I guess we can call it, is people. It's not a widget. It's not a service. It's people. And that's exciting. But with that comes responsibility. And, it takes a very unique type of person to really do a great job. And, that's why you have D, to make sure you guys are so well informed, so well trained that you can deliver the best possible service to both your clients and your candidates to go. So what makes ARG, again, better fits for Staffingpreneur, and I think why D is, seeked out ARG, is the fact that not only do we specialize in solopreneurs, but we built our model around the challenges, the needs, the things that you need to be successful. And not many companies out there do that. I mean, it's a very hyper niche, much like many of you out there have your hyper niche. If it's real estate, if it's accounting and finance, if it's dealing with only project managers for the automotive industry. I mean, it's what I call a hyper niche. So that's a big difference because we're set up to serve independent solopreneurs at a very detailed level, and we're very proud of that. Other things that make us different is our profit per hour. I mean, let's face it, at the end of the day, you work really, really hard. And making sure that every dollar you earn for every hour that they're out, you're maximizing that. And ARG makes sure you do that. Number two, we also provide a lot of different benefits that we can pass along to you as in tools and services. We build what we call branding. We do a really good job of making sure that your brand stays in front of the client and the candidate. There are companies out there that put their brand up and they're saying, look, if you're going to outsource it, then it goes on our brand. And that's fine. It's kind of the old model. Some companies are slowly coming to the middle and realizing that, you have to be behind the scenes and seamless and let your client run the show and you take that back office approach. And again, we do that by putting your brand on top of every link or in front of portals. So when your clients and candidates are moving to the process, they see your logo. We also do nice brochures. If you guys want to do, it's all complimentary. We do a good marketing brochure for your business, and you can go onto the website and take a look at some of these mock-ups and samples. But we'll put your colors, you can put all of your content, and of course your logo, and customize it. You can use it in email links, you can print them, you can put them on your website, so they're very versatile. We also do one that's customized the same, but for contract staffing and how the relationship works between your business and ARG. On top of that, we'll give you access to Agent HQ, which will give you, you've got multiple things to do in there. You can do splits with other like-minded recruiters. You can go and collaborate on other projects or ask questions or get support. You can go in and get discounts on great tools, which I previously mentioned. And also we have a lot of training in there as well, and forms and contracts that might be very helpful for your business. So, we kind of try to make this one-stop shop where independent recruiters, when they need contract staffing and funding services, can go and just do more than just run a candidate or a contractor, but they can get help for their business. They can get additional support. So pretty much that's who ARG is and why we're really a good fit for Staffingpreneur and why we're very excited to be working with all of you. And Dee, again, we appreciate the introduction, and we were excited to have this webinar because we wanted to share our unique strategy and our unique business processes to this organization. And again, open it up to Q&As and kind of answer some of the questions you may have regarding independent recruiters dealing with contract staffing and funding and payroll services.
Awesome. So few things as the questions start coming in. We're going to open the floor and we're actually going to open the lines up for anyone. So if you have background noise, you can keep your lines muted, but I'm going to open up all lines. This is the time to ask questions, Staffingpreneurs. We had about 28 to 30 registrants for this call. Actually signed up to say, hey, I'm going to actually be on this call. And I want you guys to know that this video is going in the academy, but this is the time to ask the questions. Now, before I open the floor, there are a few things. ARG is our main payroll funding partner for domestic for domestic employee payroll funding. So if anybody is in China or India, or I know we have a few people in Africa that are doing this, we have another payroll funding company that actually focuses on the international placement. So ARG is our funding company for the domestic side. That's number one. Number two, because they are a funding partner with us, please go to Staffingpreneurs Funding to schedule an appointment to speak with ARG so that they know that you are a staffingpreneur. And just like with any of my other partners, you get special treatment. Robert already knows. I call him and I'm like, Robert, what's going on? You know, I like to know what's going on with my staffingpreneurs, and I'm not in your business, but I want to make sure that you're fully taken care of. And so when you use Staffingpreneurs Funding to reach out to ARG, they know that you are a staffingpreneur and not just a random person, you know, looking to get payroll funding. So you want to go to Staffingpreneurs Funding. We've added a form here for you to put your information in. And as you can see, there's some required fields here on the screen that you will need to make sure that you fill out. They will give you a call back within 24 hours during the business week. If it's a weekend, you've got to wait. And then you can start the relationship there in that way. Okay, so make sure that you're going to Staffingpreneurs Funding. I'll put that in the chat box. It is also inside of the academy, or at least it will be by the end of the day, and on the outside of the academy. So there's no reason for you to kind of figure out where do I go again. You want to go to Staffingpreneurs Funding, okay? So also your forms and fee agreements, they are in the academy, and any additional forms and fee agreements that ARG is going to provide, I'll make sure that they have that in the academy as well, so that you're going to one place to get all the things that you need. And so I wanted to notate that as well. Before we get started, because questions are starting to roll in here, Robert, I want to ask you, what niches do you support and what niches do you not support? I think that's really the number one question that everybody has had. That's the big question I got emailed when I sent the message out.
It's a big question, obviously, and we get that a lot in general anyway. The industry's really evolved over the last few years. Workman's comp, when you're picking up the workman's comp code, developing it for that position, there's been a lot of abuse on that over the years, and the government's really cracking down. The penalties for marking somebody one workman's comp code when it's definitely another one and a higher risk is very severe. That being said, it's shelved a lot of companies to get out of high risk, and there's not many left, unfortunately. But in a short, we do what we call 8810, and 8810 is a broad number, but it basically represents nationally, because most states use it. It represents non-risk or professional office workers. That can be the CEO to the secretary, sales, anybody who's not dealing with fire, bombs, heavy equipment, tractors, warehouse, anyone that's not in direct risk or danger is what it's classified. As you know, the workman's comps are set up by the states. So really, whenever a company wants to work in a state or have a contractor out, they have to follow their guidelines and their codes. And most use 8810 to label that low risk professional office worker is what they call them. So if you are dealing with somebody that, nursing, RNs and so forth, that would move you to a different category, what they consider high risk. And those numbers change. It's a 4-digit number for the state. So it's really what we like to go by is job description. On the website, you're going to notice that there is a link on the Staffingpreneur Funding that will ask you, if you're not sure, just go ahead and submit that form, and we'll validate where you are. And we're working right now, and I'm not ready to release, but working right now with actually a local company who will be able to provide anything outside of 8810. And until I get that information, I'm going to, we'll have a long discussion with Dee about that. But for right now, what ARG handles is that office professional worker. And for anybody who's outside of that, or maybe you do both sides of that. Maybe you do, sometimes you're a warehouse worker and, sometimes you're dealing with accountants or a salesperson or marketing person. We can figure that out also. But for the most part, ARG handles that office professional, workers' comp 8810 nationally, all 50 states.
Thank you. And I'll let you know, we're very excited about once you get the approval for the other partner to ensure for your nursing, your doctors, and your warehouse. We do have a number of staffingpreneurs within that niche. And with love, I say we do have another funding company that does provide that piece. And you can have more than one funding company that you're working with. Is that right, Robert?
Absolutely. I think that's the beauty when you're sitting in the shoes of a solopreneur and you're thinking, wow, I've got to pick a back office payroll partner, and so it feels like a big commitment, but actually it's not, because you can run a different contractor under a different payroll company. You do it 100 different companies. Technically, it really doesn't matter. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a pain to track. But, payroll companies earn your business every hour that contractor is out. And if at any time you don't feel comfortable with a payroll partner, you can move to another payroll partner. So yes, very flexible, and you have a lot of control. And you can even move somebody who's working at a company that's been put up by one payroll company and transfer to another. A little bit of a headache, but it can be done.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so I didn't even open the lines, but questions are coming in. I'm going to just kind of go through some of the questions we have. One of our staffingpreneurs asked, is there a contract involved to work with you? And if so, what's the length of the contract?
Yes and no. It's not a contract. It's just a general industry standard agreement. Very short. And it basically just lays out what tasks will be performing for you. And that's the beauty of agreements, because it kind of, it boxes in what ARG's responsibility is for you. And it also protects ARG to make sure that we're not expected to do things that we don't do and are held accountable for things that we, of course, don't offer. So the agreement is straightforward. It's absolutely no obligation agreement. So you can fill out the agreement, and Dee, you have that link already.
Yes, we do, right here. I'm clicking on them as you're talking. Here's the link. It's a new assignment request. Is that what you were speaking about?
Yeah, yes. Well, it's the recruiter agreement. We call it recruiter. The recruiter agreement's in it, but it's the recruiter enrollment. That form is, again, no obligation. You can fill it out and never do business with ARG. It makes no difference. But it does state, it lays out who ARG is and what we'll be doing in a simple agreement, non-binding. Again, you could put a contractor out January 1st and for some reason want to move to another contract payroll provider and never use ARG again. So the good news, and like I said before, we have to earn your business. I mean, it's not something that we lock in for a year and you have to use us. And, it shouldn't be that way. Now, I'm not saying some companies out there might not do that, but ARG doesn't take that approach to business.
Love it. That's awesome. Okay. Another question we got was, what is your funding rate? Is that based off of net 30 days for the client to pay? And do you provide payroll and back office support?
Our terms, there's, in the industry, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. Some companies will bill off will charge a percentage off the bill rate, the pay rate, and then there's other forms, factoring and so forth. ARG, again, was built for independent recruiters and solopreneurs to begin with. And that would mean you would want to charge off the pay rate. Why? Because you don't set the pay rate. The client sets the pay rate. You set the bill rate, which determines the markup, which determines the spread, which is where your money comes from, your profit per hour. So ARG charges 23% of that pay rate. So it's very simple. And that's the other advantage of it. A, you're not being penalized on the bill rate, because of course, if you get a higher bill rate, that's fantastic for you, doing a great job. But of course, you're going to pay more, and nobody wants to pay more for the service. Number two, when you're going forward, it's easier to calculate. I don't have a sample to show you, but to show you a spreadsheet of what it takes to do all the fields and the FICAs and the insurances and the SUIs, and to figure out what your proper per rate is a little intense. So at ARG, we do it up to pay rate, that percentage. So, if you had a $50 bill rate, you would take 23% of that pay rate, and that you would get your fixed number. And then, of course, you take your bill rate, let's say it was 75, so you have a $25 spread, and then you would just simply subtract that from your spread, and that's your profit per hour. Very simple. Matter of fact, we're almost done with the calculator that you can have on the website, and it will go
here,
mobile.
my love. Well, we got a piece of it. So you said it's a 23% burden?
Yes, on the pay rate.
Okay. So in the pay rate, you said the bill rate was $50 an hour. What was the pay rate that you were quoting?
Well, it was an example. So if you're doing $50 pay rate, and I'll run this with you.
I'm online. Can you see my screen? I'm calculating it on the calculator right here.
Okay. Yes. So you would take 50 times 23%. So it's at $11.50 is the back office fee per hour.
I got the $5.75.
So
okay, go ahead.
If you had a $75 bill rate, you would, and of course that's a $25 spread, you would simply subtract it from 25 and you would be earning $13.50 per hour.
There it is. There you go.
Very easy and simple to do, because again, if you're negotiating with your client, you need to very quickly be able to go, all right, I got to move my bill rate around, your profit. Now, let's talk a little bit about that burden and that 23%. And it also answers the second part of your question. The 23% covers all of the costs, A to Z turnkey out the door, of running that contractor. Now, to break down the costs within that, 12 to 15% of that number is taken by the states for the workman's comp. And that's just depending on the state. So that's the fee that has to be paid into it. And then, of course, you have all the insurances that you have to run, the benefits packages that go involved, the funding, the payrolling, the time card setup, the admin, the onboarding, and basically releasing you of everything that goes into the rest of that 9%.
That was awesome.
Depending on what the state is technically, it could be 12, it could be 15, but the difference would be left in that. Now, to continue to answer the second part of that question, we do it all. And why our approach is, we don't break it up, is when you are an independent recruiter, and again, this is all we've been focusing on for 17 years, they are running their desk. Their job, their career, their passion is recruiting, client development, and candidate sourcing. They do not have the time nor the inclination to be onboarding, to be getting forms from candidates, to be running down spreadsheets, to be depositing, direct deposit. It's almost impossible to do. And that's actually another big difference to the industry. Is there was a small time where independent recruiters were doing that themselves, and that's if they had the funding to do it. A lot of those have actually relented because it's now it's so different, and the insurances have changed so much that outsourcing really is the only viable choice for solopreneurs. And the good news is it really does release you from all that, not only the time and the work, but also the liability. Because with ARG, if your client, of course, doesn't pay the bill, you're not liable at all. They don't come after you. And that's important, because some companies actually say that if your client doesn't pay, we're going to bill you, and you sign off on that. So the liability and the time and the energy it takes to run the business, and we won't go into the funding costs, you can calculate that. It just makes no sense to try to bring that in-house to do. And we've worked with many partners over the years that are even greater than solopreneurs, and maybe a little bit larger. A boutique firm definitely under 10, because that's our market. But they have started to outsource it, and they're putting that time and energy and expense into their primary core business, which of course is running that third-party desk. So yes, we will do it what we call A to Z turnkey. So I think we kind of have a joke sometimes with our clients, tongue in cheek, that they always say that once they submit that NAR, which of course is on Staffingpreneurs Funding website, that you'll almost hear crickets, because we take care of it for you. Also, the fact that you will get spreadsheets throughout the week will show you the reports, what you have out, what the aging is. So you're always informed on what's going on, but really you're not getting interrupted, again, running your core competency, which is your recruiting desk.
So, a few more questions, and I'm going to chime in just a little bit here, guys. He was throwing numbers out. You see the calculator here, and of course, he was giving an example. $75 is a bill rate, your contractor pay rate, $50 an hour, your burden and your taxes, which is what ARG would be. That's their fee, the 23%. We know that our gross profit margin needs to at least be a minimum of 28%. Okay, so those were sample numbers. Staffingpreneurs, please do not send in, use those numbers, okay? If these numbers were real and live, I would like to see you somewhere around the maybe 30, let me just see, 40, and you see how I'm using the calculator, okay? I'm giving you right here how this looks. If you were going to do your lowest number, it would be somewhere probably around $43 an hour, where ARG took the 23%. The burden would be $9.89. You would be making your gross margin $22.11 an hour. That's your 28%, 29% gross profit margin. I would like to see you guys somewhere with a bill rate around $75 an hour, with a pay rate around $49 for your contractor, where you're making 28. 28% should be your bottom number. And remember, Robert Half is billing out on average 43%. Okay? So depending on your niche, depending on the client, this will also determine kind of where you need to be. Please use your calculator to work the numbers out. ARG, for the most part, is giving us 23%. They'll tell you exactly if that number changes, depending on the position that you're using when you fill out your new request assignment form. All right, I just needed to throw that in there. Okay, more questions. Does ARG include the insurance cost in the 23% of the burden, or is insurance paid separately?
100% A to Z turnkey out the door. Everything's included.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, another question here. Let me see. Is there a okay, we've got that. What is the percent? We got that. Oh, how do your splits work and the percentage? How do the splits work, and is it the same percentage for splits that it is for just for regular contract staffing?
Well, we as it relates to splitting with another recruiter, or
yes.
Okay. Well, we don't have a fee for that. We don't. I know there's companies out there that's all they do. They facilitate splits between recruiters, which is very good. I mean, if you need it. With ARG, we kind of have through our portal, Agent HQ, we have just a collaboration where if you can do splits there, but there's no fee to it whatsoever. Obviously, the standard split in the industry has been 50-50. That can change if you were working on a national account, and you have more job orders than you can handle, and we've dealt with that. They might come out and say, you know what, I'm not going to work on most of these, but as the finder and the holder of the client relationship, they might do half of that. And obviously they do that so they can get more recruiters interested in working it, because a recruiter is always going to say to themselves, why would I work at 50% when I can work on my clients with 100%? So they really do try to make it a little bit more profitable. But there's no technical fee if the collaboration takes place within ARG to that, no fee to ARG. That would just be your traditional split. And the good news on that is if you're in a situation where you do have a split, again, you don't have to worry about breaking it up. You can just put the notes on the NAR and say, I'm working with another recruiter, the split is blank, and we will calculate that for you, and we will pay the other recruiter, so you don't have to worry about a thing.
So are you talking about splits for the direct hire? You're talking about splits for the contract. Is that valid?
Yes, it makes no difference, because technically in the process of putting talent into a company, if it's direct hire, if it's contingent, if it's retained or modified retained, makes no difference. At the end of the day, two recruiters working to get that talent in. Once the talent's in, then what matters is was it retained, was it contingent, or contingency based, or was it direct hire? Again, one client had the relationship with the company. one recruiter had the relationship with the candidate, and it's a split either way.
Right. So typically, guys, I say for if you're doing a direct hire split, that's a real, whoever has the client, that's a real easy Microsoft Word invoice that you can send right out like that. In my opinion, and Robert can say different, but you send your invoice out if it's direct hire. If it's contract, I think it's super duper important for you to run your splits through ARG. Going to the Staffingpreneurs Funding website to let them know that this is where you're coming from, so that because then they can manage that, because that's on somebody's payroll, and then you don't have to worry about the fear of whether or not you're getting paid properly, whether or not you're being cheated or anything like that. So whenever you're talking about contract to hire, temp to hire, payroll funding, ARG, this is where you really want to be, because this will help keep you on point and so forth. One of the other questions that came through, Robert, was about the taxes. Do you guys, how often, do you run a tax report for them? Do they need to be concerned about filing their taxes for that contract to hire, temp to hire business?
Again, you'll get spreadsheets every week with the normal process. At the end of the year, you will get a tax report that you can give to your accountant if you're a corp, S corp, C corp, LLC, or even a sole proprietor. So we'll give you all that information, nice and easy, so you don't have to do anything but give it to your accountant, which I definitely recommend, and you're taken care of. So yes, we do that for you.
Okay, here we have another staffingpreneur. The workman's comp rate that you threw out, 12 to 15%, seemed high for non-industrial staffing. The average workers' comp for technical positions are significantly lower, like 3 to 5%. Can you please expound on that?
Well, that's the workman's comp code is broken up in a lot of pieces. I kind of mentioned that before in a spreadsheet. If you go in and you dissect the processes, you can break the numbers to smaller, but they add up for the full charge of the workman's comp codes and all the insurances together for that state will range on average. They can go a little less, but on average is 12 to 15% of the total fee. But you can go in and say, well, this is 3 and this is 6 and this is 2.5, and then you'll find yourself right back up there. But you can't go with any one of those pieces by law. So instead of breaking it down into the pieces, you just kind of say the workman's comp / insurances is 12 to 15%.
And let me just expound on that. And this is and I know this particular staffingpreneur, so I'm going to call you out. Don't get mad at me. Allison, I've been in this industry for a very long time. And here in Atlanta, now ARG is not in Atlanta, but our burden has always been around between 20 to 26%, depending. We've had in our Houston offices, the burden is 26%. And the Atlanta office has always been around 20 to 23%. The numbers that he's quoting, they are very average for the typical staffing agency. So I just wanted to confirm that on his behalf. And that was me, and that's not just me as a staffingpreneur on my own, but actually working for other staffingpreneurs or working for other staffing companies in the area and across the country in training. Typically, I have not seen a burden lower than 20%. Now, really quickly, and just to piggyback on it, I said 23%, which is the number that he gave. That is a valid number. That is a very valid number. And I'll tell you that the majority of the staffing agencies out there are not offering healthcare benefits, and they're still putting on a 23 or 20 to 26% burden without health insurance. And so here ARG, and am I right, Robert, that you guys have an health insurance plan as well, or did that go away?
No, yes, we have a full benefits package. And to your point, some of those companies will have a minimum a pay rate that they'll even run for you. And if you don't, it jumps up even higher. Mm-hmm. Some are like 25. So if you're running somebody that might be, 20, you're going to pay significantly more. So there's a lot of aspects to the funding But I mean, cost-wise, ARG is one of the best out there today. So, one of the biggest, benefits of ARG, and I put it as number one, was a high profit per hour for independent recruiters. You work hard, you need to get the most out of every hour. And
Yes.
ARG helps you do that.
Yes. And let me just say, I just want to piggyback on that as well. The reason why I really partnered with ARG is because if you think, I don't care if you've got $1 million in your account right now, understand that if you have someone, if you're outsourcing this process, you're not losing, you're winning, because time is money. And for the amount of money that you quote unquote think that you're saving, you're spending it in time. And you don't really have that time, especially if you're a 1-man, 2-man, 3-man, 4-man, or 5-man firm. Now, if you've got a full-blown 20 people in your office, that's a totally different story. But I work with staffing agencies as large as Manpower or, Agilon. They use payroll funding companies as well because they understand the benefit. So don't get it twisted and think that 23% is massive. It is not. It is normal. It's industry standard. It's actually a very good rate. And I'm not just saying that because we're partners. I partner with them specifically because their rates were excellent for my staffingpreneurs. Okay, so now question. This is question is, does the rate go up depending on when the client pays? Also, what happens if a client doesn't pay? What penalties for our company or time frame when we have to pay you back?
No, as I stated earlier, and that's the risk comes in. We talk about the value of time, and time is money, and no truer statement was ever made in this industry. You need to put yourself where the money comes in, and that's client development and candidate sourcing. That's where you need to be all day. To that point, if your clients don't pay, some companies, you're signed down to it. You should know it. It's in their agreement. They will come after you for it. You will be liable for that. With ARG, it is our risk. So not only are you putting your time and energy at revenue generating activities, but you're under zero risk. And that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. So no, there is no payback. If your client refuses to pay the bill, then ARG pays that bill.
Awesome. So the rate does not go up depending on when the client pays.
No, it can go up 1.25% if it's outside of 30, but that's very rare. And that can be waived in circumstances.
Another staffingpreneur asked, is there a waiting period before we get paid as a staffingpreneur? Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very good question. ARG, and this kind of goes into why we have such a low rate. Some companies will pay you regardless every Friday. They look at that as a very big plus, and that's fine, but they charge you more. So we kind of look at it and say, well, do we expect these companies to pay? Because it's our responsibility at ARG to vet that company, and we vet that company to protect the recruiter, so you don't do all that work for nothing, the candidate, so they don't lose their job, and the candidate doesn't get mad at you, and of course ARG who has to pay that bill. And that's why we take the responsibility for anybody who doesn't pay. So we vet the company, and therefore we're leaving that off your shoulders. So yes, I mean, you're not going to, we check them out. We make sure everyone is taken care of. And again, that starts off the first step of the process. So vetting the companies is a very important thing. It's one of the first things we do, again, to protect all parties involved from that company so it doesn't come back to bite anybody. But it does happen. We do get those companies that file bankruptcy. It's part of our business, and it's something that we have to absorb. And other companies, obviously, that we compete with have to absorb, and they work that into their numbers. So the when you get paid is when your client pays. So the candidates, of course, get paid by law every week. And when the client pays, and usually it's a week or 15 days, that's standard. 15 usually is on the backside of that. When the client gets paid, when we get paid from the client, the next week you'll be paid on Friday. And then of course, that's only at the beginning because you're setting up a new client. Then of course they pay every week and you get paid every Friday. And we do direct deposit, so there's no checks in the mail.
Awesome. So a staffingpreneur asks, so should we contact ARG about the company before we begin working with them to make sure that ARG can do business with them? And before you answer that, all the forms that you need to work with ARG are on Staffingpreneurs Funding. And he's going to say in a minute, there's a form that you fill out, and that's where how they vet the company. And I want you to understand that those forms are on Staffingpreneurs Funding, and you want to go through here so that they know that you are a staffingpreneur. Go ahead, Robert, chime in.
Yeah, no, Dee, that was perfect. That's right. If this is, your job as a recruiter is to fill out your companies and get a good idea of who they are. Because think of it this way: if you're dealing with a company and you're taking your needs assessment, but you also have to look around if you're on site, which is even better. But do the research on the companies. Don't work with companies that have filed bankruptcy multiple times. These are researches you can do on your own. So when you're vetting your clients, your potential clients, this should already be part of your early process. So when you're going, when you're actually courting them and you get the job order and you're doing the needs assessment, you don't have that big fear of, gee, this is a company that doesn't pay their bills, or I don't know the integrity of this company or their financial records, which ARG will end up checking out. So it always should be a part of any recruiter's normal processes to make sure that companies that they're working with are upstanding, they're in a good financial position, because they're the ones that are going to pay your bill. So that's important. So, but let's just say you go through that process. ARG is going to back you up by running a process in the back. D&B is one of them, to make sure the company isn't jumping from payroll to payroll and recruiter to recruiter to get payrolling, which they don't have any intention of paying. So, and that's a very quick process for us. So no, it doesn't take a week. I mean, usually if there's a problem, we'll know within 24, 48 hours.
And that goes back to me preaching, okay? Really, every client is not a good client, okay? Just because you got a job order doesn't mean that they're a great company to work with. A great job order that has a crappy a great job order with a company who does not pay is not a good placement for you. So you are doing a vetting process in the beginning. You're working with small companies, mid-sized companies, large companies, and giant companies. And I'll tell you, even some of the larger companies out there do not have the best reputation. It is super important that you are aware of the companies that you're working with. All business is not good business. I'm sorry, guys. I still got to get my training in the midst of this. All right. Another question here. Thank you, Robert. Great question. Great response. I heard Robert say his company funds for office workers and executive workers. Does the company fund warehouse workers?
No, as I stated, it's office workers most of the time. And again, if you're not sure, or maybe it's a unique situation, because let's face it, there's a lot of different jobs out there that might seem like it's a high risk or non-ADA 10, but it's actually not. Right. And he, of course, has that form on the website that you can click to confirm it and run it through ARG. We'll give you an answer on that job description. And if the company has a workman's comp code, sometimes they'll have it on file because they've used it before. Give us that file, that code. But job description and title is really what we're looking for. And we'll run that and we'll get that answer back to you ASAP. So, but generally speaking, there should be a red flag when you hear anything. Yes, warehouse, they're working with forklifts and heavy machinery. That would be considered the high risk. And as Dee stated, she's going to have partners for you to take care of that. So either way, you're going to be taken care of. But to back up on what Dee stated, when Dee tells you about, not every good job order or the job order is a good job order, no truer words were ever said in the industry. Again, I've been in 20 years. And, some recruiters get to a situation because they feel like they have a job order. It's a good thing. Let me tell you something, a bad job order is worse than no job order. because when there's no job order or you have a bad job order, put it off to the side, let it go. Tell the company that, if they want to work with you, that the reasons why, and there are many reasons why, I'm sure Dee goes into those details, but you need to spend that time focusing on good job orders, because bad job orders will take you months down the road and will give you nothing in return. So I love that she brings that up, Dee. That is a very strong point.
That's a very strong point. So for all the people, we had a couple of questions about construction project managers, about registered nurses. ARG is focusing solely, for the most part, right now, okay? Solely focusing on your office positions, on your office positions, okay? So on your positions under 8810, no risk. We do have another funding company that will be on the line that's going to focus on your warehouse and on your nursing. So again, you can have more than one payroll funding company. Now think about this. Let's put it out there. Let's say you are focusing on the construction project management or the registered nurse, and you've placed one or two of those people, but then your hiring manager says, oh my gosh, my executive assistant just quit, or I can't stand the assistant we have, or we need someone to do this portion in the office. While that's not in your niche, you may decide to take that on. You would call ARG for those positions. But for the risk positions, and nursing is a risk. Doctors are a risk because there's a malpractice fee that goes along, a malpractice insurance that goes along with that. It's very expensive. So understand that that is a situation where you may use a little bit of ARG and a little bit of another funding company. So don't fret. You're still in very much so good hands. Okay, the questions are still coming. Robert, can you stay on the line?
Sure, go ahead.
Awesome. All right, another question. Do you have a minimum on billings? The education industry may not have the large billing per hour, speaking of bill rate and pay rate. So is there a minimum that you all accept?
Well, no, not in an actual number. Some companies do have a number. It's what we call the break-even calculator. When you're working with a company, education, it doesn't matter where it is, and they give you get the bill rate and the pay rate. If the spread between those is not enough to cover the burden, then you're in the negative, and nobody's going to run it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get paid because there's no, you can't, the spread can't cover the burden of the position. So the numbers kind of work themselves out. So, and that's why it's really important you use the calculator, because if you know you're going into a position at a certain low number, then you need to know going in, I need to be at this number to what we call that break even. And then anything over that will go to your profit per hour.
28% is your minimum. I don't care. And I'm sorry, Robert, but this is the training. This is the trainer and coach in me. You do not want to, you don't even want to work with a client below 28%. You are working your ass off over there. And I said the A word. You're working your ass off over there. You have to get paid what you're worth. If a client is not open to paying you your worth, they are not a good client for you. Period. You're not losing, you're winning. You've got to know your value. You've got to know your worth. That gross margin should be no less than 28%. And I don't want to hear anybody talking about, well, I don't want to hear it. 28% is your bottom line number. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry about that.
No, I agree. I mean, as ARG is concerned technically by the numbers, no, we will look at those numbers. If a recruiter came to us, obviously not Staffingpreneur, but if a recruiter came to us and said, run the back office on this, they're going to make 30 cents an hour, we can run it. That's not a problem. But no, you work really hard for what you do. I've watched a lot of recruiters over the years. You have two types. You have an order taker and you have a consultant. An order taker goes in and just leads and just, I'll take what you got. They'll fend and not like begging for it, but they'll take anything they can. A consultant does not do that. And it shows in the presentation to the client. And a client wants a consultant They might act like they want an order taker, but they want a consultant. So you work hard for what you do. You should use these numbers and use it as a golden rule. It really isn't worth your time and energy to go beneath that. It's not.
Thank you so much for that. I love you for that. Like extra love and kisses flying over. Tell your wife I mean it with love. I mean, because I get staffingpreneurs that come across my desk and they're like, well, I'm going to make $1. What, $1 an hour is nothing, honey bunny, for the work that you're putting in. So this number, when you're talking to clients, you look at your bill rate, you decide your bill rate and your pay rate based on your gross margin, which again, bare minimum 28%. I've got a chick in Wisconsin, and I said a chick. I've got a chick in Wisconsin. She told a company off the break, I will not work with you for less than this amount. And they said, that's too much. And they walked away, and she let them walk away. And then they came back and they said, you know what? You were just so stern on that price. It lets me know that you value yourself and that you have quality. She did $30,000 in her first 30 days. She did not lose that client. She gained a long-lasting client. So understand, your bottom line number should be 28%. Two more questions, and you can keep them coming as long as Robert will stay on the line. I really have scheduled this appointment because I want you guys to succeed, and I think you all know that. Okay, so if a staffing agency is not open yet, at what point do we connect with ARG? At what point do we go to Staffingpreneurs Funding to get started? That's the question.
Good question. You're going to go through your standard procedures as a recruiter. That Dee is, I'm sure, laid out a wonderful track to do that. Once you get to the situation, the point where you're interviewing and a client has accepted a resume, they picked out you submitted 3 fantastic resumes. They've gone through the interview process, and you have your number one, and the candidate has accepted it. Now you have an opportunity to run a contractor at that point, and that's where ARG will come in. You will go to the website, and you will click on the link to submit the new assignment request, because now you have all the information. Of course, you already know what the fees are because you negotiated that up front. You know who the candidate is. You have all the details done, and that's where ARG will come in, take it from there, and get them set up, onboarded, and get those checks going into you by direct deposit when they come in, usually every week.
So, and I also want to notate that we have a number of staffingpreneurs that took the liberty of connecting, going to Staffingpreneurs, filling out the information that's required, which you can go here, Staffingpreneurs Funding, add the contact request, and then ARG will come in and set you up and get you set up prior to anything ever starting. So when you're ready for your first contract, you can just go back to Staffingpreneurs Funding, fill out the new assignment request form, and keep it moving. So you can do it now if you want and you're in the startup phase. I know for a fact that Robert doesn't have any problem with getting you guys set up. And again, they do provide brochures that are specific to your brand, that we've got a number of our staffingpreneurs, and I'll show you guys, for instance, the real estate staffing agency is one. And I don't know if Valerie is on this line or Cherie, but they actually have set up their partnership prior to their first placement, which is coming. I don't know if you know this, Robert. They just landed 3 major contracts with real estate firms. But here you can see their corporate funding, their corporate partners, ARG. They have not started their first placement yet. They do have their 3 brand new contracts, and they're ready to go once the hiring managers are ready to get involved with them. Also, just a side note, we did develop their website, so if you need website development, I gotta plug us. We are available for that. That was kind of cheesy, but we are available for that. So I just wanted you guys to know that. Now, Renasha asked a question. I'm going to answer this for you. Same percentage for direct hire and contract hire. Again, Renasha, I really want you to use ARG for your contract to hire. Your direct hire, you can just send an invoice out yourself. It's a one-time placement fee. Okay, and ARG will take all the payroll, all the tax information you need, compile it, send it to you, and then you can include that with your direct hire and give that to your accountant. Another question, what insurances are included? I know about workman's comp, but is that professional liability, errors and omissions, etc.? Can you expound on that, Robert?
Yeah, well, we have all the insurances that are required for ARG, but if you're dealing with E&O, that is for your company. I think there's 2 states, Dean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the 2 states that actually mandate, I think it's South Carolina is one of them.
Yes, it
where
is.
you have to, as a recruiter, you have to be licensed in that state as a recruiter, and they do require E&O and other insurances for a recruiting company. That is actually not connected with ARG. Our insurances obviously are fully intact. And we also can, your clients will even ask for some of our insurance qualifications. A lot of them do. And when they do that, don't be alarmed. Just send us an email going, they're requesting the insurance forms, and we will send them right over to you. That's not a problem. But to back up to the last question, I think I answered half of it. Where would you be in the process of submitting somebody to ARG? You can go ahead and kind of Dee went through it and use the real estate example. There is what we call the recruiter enrollment that you want to do up front, and we talked about this in the no obligation. You can fill out that form, and we'll have it on file. And again, you can read it. Take just a minute to do online. It's digital signatures, EchoSign. But we also need to get up, set up all of your branding for the portals and for the web forms. So we really want to do that up front and have it ready to go. And we've already worked with many staffingpreneurs who have their accounts set up, have all their branding, everything is ready to go. So when they do make that first placement and the candidate accepts that position, they can just turnkey. We can do it very quickly, but it just makes more sense to go. And again, there's no obligation whatsoever to use ARG.
Awesome. I love that. Now, another question we had is, wait, did I? No, here it is. Can ARG be used as a resource tool to find clients that need or use executive and administrative assistance? What does that mean, Angela? If you can expound on that more. Are you asking, can they be a tool or a resource to find job orders? Because if you're asking that, that is your business, okay? ARG, and I'm going to step in here right here. I don't teach my staffingpreneurs I want you to go out and find your business and to build your relationships personally. However, I would like for you to expound on that a little bit more. You said yes. Okay, thank you. You said yes. So you're asking, do they provide job orders for you? Is that what you're asking, Angela? And I just need a yes or no. Okay, not speaking with them, but to give names of companies. Before you answer that, Robert, I would like for you to go and do your research and find your companies, because companies that you want to work with should be strategic to your business and your niche. You shouldn't be looking to work with every company in the world, okay? Because every company is not for you. You should specifically be looking for companies that are strategic to your business model and your niche, all right? So if your niche is HR managers, you should be looking for companies that focus on placing HR managers and going from there. I hope does that answer your question? And if they are, and if ARG is giving out names for companies, they should be charging you a crap load of money for it. How about that, Robert?
I guess we'd be a split partner at that point, right?
At that point, you would be a split partner. Nobody's going to give you names other than the people that you're networking with and that you have relationships with. Job orders are not that it should not be a need. It should not be a lack of job orders per se. Job orders are very easy to get. It's the candidates that's more challenging to find because each client is looking for something specific. If someone is giving you information that easily, that would be a red flag for me, because data is worth more than anything right now in 2015, just so you know. I hope that was helpful, Angela, but a great question, because I'm sure many people were asking the same question. Okay, great. So I don't see any more questions that have come through. If you have a question, now is the time to ask, because Robert is going away. I'm so proud of my staffingpreneurs. I feel all mushy because you guys are asking, which means that you're ready to start growing your staffing agency businesses within your niche. Again, if this is a non-office niche, then we have other staffing agency, other employee payroll funding companies that will support you. As ARG continues to grow, then we will send announcements out to let you know that now ARG is representing the cannabis industry, or representing the the registered nursing industry, or the warehousing industry. ARG is our main domestic employee payroll funding partner, which means that anything that's going on with them, you guys are going to hear about it from me, okay, and them as well, potentially. So do not fret. Yes, Renasha, business analysts and executive assistants are 100% covered by ARG. Go to Staffingpreneurs Funding. Fill out the contact request form here on the end. They will get back with you to help get you set up with all the information that you need. In fact, Renasha, this is a great time to do this for you because we're still finishing your website and we need to make sure that we have ARG's information on the website to let people know that you are using them as a partner. Thank you for that question. Also, we've got another question. Does our ARG take care of payroll taxes regardless of where the contractor lives? I think we answered that already, and that is yes, as long as they're in the United States and it is covered in a niche that is non-risky, under that 8810 Workman's Comp code. Is that correct, Robert?
Absolutely. It's all again, A to Z turnkey. But remember, we've been talking about W-2s. There's also 1099s. Or what's called corp to corp, and you as self-employers might run into those type that classification. And there's the 10-step rule to figure out if they're 1099. The government puts out, but if it is that, then it's only 7% of the pay rate. Okay, obviously because workman's comp and all that insurance and so forth are removed. So remember, if your client says 1099. Or regular W-2? The answer is yes.
And so let me just go back here. We're at the calculator, and I know a lot of you, we haven't done a training yet on how to use the calculator exactly. But with the numbers, the 23% that Robert was talking about, we were talking about W-2 burden. Now understand that if you're talking about a 1099 contractor, that number we had was 5%. But I just changed it to 7% to represent ARG here. And that was same bill rate, so maybe you're still billing the client $75 an hour, but you're paying your contractor, who is a 1099 contractor, which you'll see a lot for business analysts. You'll see it for project managers. You'll see it for software developers. So some people actually do as 1099, then your pay rate here, you see $40 an hour. It would probably go up a little bit. You could actually pay that candidate or that 1099 contractor a little bit more there, and for them to still hit the $49 pay rate. But instead of it being a 23% burden, Robert mentioned it's a 7% burden. And Allison, I think this goes along with a lot of your DBAs that you'll be placing that will say, hey, I want to do this as 1099, and here you go. Now, on your corp to corp, of course, your corp to corp is you doing business directly as a business with another business, okay? You see this a lot in Indian firms, no disrespect, no discrimination. You see this a lot in Indian firms where they say, hey, we'll go ahead and we'll provide the contractor. You still keep the same bill rate with your client, but with the firm, with the Indian firm per se, your bill rate may be $48 an hour, okay? For you to still hit the number that you're looking for. We'll go into that in a different training session, but I wanted to throw that out there. The burden is going to be different for a 1099 contractor, and typically corp to corp, there is no burden because that company that you're doing business with is going to take over all of the payroll and so forth. And Robert, of course, you can correct me if I'm saying anything wrong or if anything has changed. This is the way it's typically been done. Another question we have right here is, Office includes information technology, meaning 8810 information technology is under there. As far as I know, 8810 information technology is included under the 8810 workman's comp code. Robert, do you know anything different? Do you want to expound?
No, that is correct. Why, if you're asking, ARG works in certain areas, and it comes back to supply and demand. Over the years, our clients typically work in office professional, IT, engineering, accounting and finance, marketing, and that's just always been our clients' businesses. So when companies like ARG want to, because we work in all 50 states, if you're doing if you have the need for nursing, for example, you don't get a lot over the years. To go out and get those policies for 50 states is extremely expensive when your clients aren't demanding it. So to that point, as we grow business is flexible, and all of a sudden we get an influx of certain type of codes, then ARG at any time can add those. And Dee was making that point earlier that we can come in and say, you know what, we have the need. So we did pick up some insurances and we broadened that scope of work outside of 8810 to a certain point. And that's why you need to check with us to let us know, what the positions are, and we can confirm that for you very quickly.
Awesome. All right. Oh, another question just came in. Another question just came in. She says, I plan on staffing for healthcare IT nurses. Will fall into that. Please share other funding company. Okay, definitely. I will do so. We'll actually have them on the line just as ARG has for our healthcare folks. Also, for any of our folks that are on the line that are doing healthcare staffing, don't forget we have a webinar coming up on the 19th with the executive director of the Joint Commission Certification Program for Healthcare Staffing Agencies. And actually she was like almost, and don't repeat this, but she was almost kind of starstruck, which kind of freaked me out. Just like, oh my God, Dee Williams, right? And she was super excited about coming on with you guys. She wants to show you guys how to get certified. And she gave me a list of payroll funding companies specifically for the healthcare industry, and I'll be reaching out with a lot of them this week, and we'll have them scheduled on the academy to come and speak with you directly. So do not fret, that support is coming there as well. You're welcome, Deshawn. I love you so much. Mwah! I love my staffingpreneurs. I want to make sure you guys are able to really grow your business very effectively and very easily. It's not always easy to run a staffing agency as a 1 to 5 man firm, but when you have support from a payroll funding company like ARG, it gives you the ability to, and he said it earlier 100%, to focus on the stuff that's important, which is talking to your candidates. Your candidates are your capital. Build the relationships. They'll give you the job orders. I promise you. Ask Lori in Houston. She's rocking it out. Another job order she just texted me about yesterday. That girl is on fire, okay? Your candidates will give you the business, all right? So connect. And so the pieces, I'm excited, guys. So your pieces are your candidate sourcing and developing your business. And if you're focusing on those things, the funding piece is an easy no-brainer, okay? ARG will handle all of that on the back end, and you can focus on what's most important. Any other questions? I'm sending a last call out right here. If I don't see any other questions on the line, I know Robert is super busy helping other staffingpreneurs such as yourself get their businesses up and going with the funding piece. I want to be there to support you just as Robert does. Remember, please schedule a one-on-one appointment with Robert if needed at staffingpreneursfunding.com so that they will know that you are a staffingpreneur. You also have all the forms that you need if you're already up and going, ready to get started. You can find out if you have a job order on the table. You can get your workman's comp approval based on the specific positions. As soon as the site comes up, there are 3 buttons that'll be there. It's 2 now, but there'll be 3 within the hour. One is getting started, which is your new assignment request. That is if you have a job order on the table, you're ready for the staffing piece to take place, which is your temp to perm, contract to hire. This is where you want to be to make sure that they fall into the 8810 spacing, okay? The 8810 spacing. If you're ready to get started, and you don't necessarily have or you do have the job order, but you already know this is an executive assistant, this is an IT, a finance and accounting, an administrative, a marketing position, and you're ready to get started, you don't have to schedule the appointment with them. All you've got to do is to start the NAR, which is the new assignment request form, which is brand new. Click new and start putting in all of your information. You can get started there. And then I will also add the other form, Robert. I'm missing a form here, the one where they can kind of get the contract started with you guys. And I'll have that on Staffingpreneurs Funding within the hour so that you can use that form as well. But again, if you just want to talk to Robert in more detail, just come to staffingpreneursfunding.com, fill out the information. They will be in touch within an hour. I just want to take a quick moment. Y'all know I get excited. You know I get amped up. I want to take a moment. I want to thank Angela for being on the call. I want to thank Brandon for being on the call. I want to thank Britt for being on the call. I love you. Deshaun, you know you're one of my favorite people in the world. Mwah! Thank you. Tayana, thank you so much. Renasha, thank you for being here. Herringbender, I missed calling you. Thank you so much for being here. Sarah and Shanika, thank you. Miss Warren, Tamika and Tanisha Jones, thank you. Tayana, I just want to thank you all for being here. I love my staffingpreneurs, and more importantly, Robert. Oh my gosh, you are so amazing. Thank you so much for being on this call today, supporting my staffingpreneurs, letting them know that they have an additional resource. How else can I send more love and positive energy to you?
One of the things we love working with staffingpreneurs is, again, it is right in our sweet spot. I mean, we deal with independent recruiters. That is our passion. And obviously, that is Dee Williams' passion. So we have a lot, a common core. So it's just, to us, it's an exciting relationship. And we really are looking forward to helping each one of you build that contract staffing business, learn it as you'll always be a student of contract staffing, and we would like to be one of your professors in that process to get you where you want to go. At the end of the day, you all have goals, and our goal is to help you reach them.
Thank you so much. Guys, you have a great day. 7:00 p.m. Eastern. You need to be on the Q&A call. Ask your questions for wherever you are in your business. Please, please, please be on that call and register on the calendar this evening. We also will be doing an introduction of everyone on the call. I love my staffingpreneurs. Thank you again, Robert. Thank you guys for taking time out of your working day to get on this call. I love you guys. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.